With Prometheus's gift of civilization, humanity entered upon a golden age of high culture. The arts and sciences flourished, and it seemed that not even the stars were beyond the reach of the dreams of their kings and the spires of their cities. But soon, people forgot the powers upon which their civilizations had been founded. The temples lay empty, the altars barren. They no longer remembered what it was like to live in the mud among their beasts, without warmth or light. They became decadent and neglectful, lulled into comfort by the wealth and prosperity of civilization. The priests and kings were no longer vigilant, and the descendants of Cain began to creep into the institutions and corrupt them. From the shadows, they stirred resentment in the hearts of the people and turned them against each other. Neighbor murdered neighbor in the street, and cities fell into civil war. Fire, which had once brought mankind the gift of civilization and carried the scent of burnt offerings to the gods, now carried up to the heavens the stench of plague and death. And seeing the temples burning, and man slaughtering and pillaging his way upon the earth, God resolved himself to wipe civilization from the earth and quench man's fire with a great deluge. But Deucalion, son of far-seeing Prometheus, had remained vigilant and clear-sighted amid the chaos. He had foreseen the coming destruction and labored to build a great ark and fill it with all the knowledge of civilization and the many teachings of his father. He took into the ark his wife, Pyrrha, and all his generations. He took also into the ark builders, scribes, blacksmiths, priests, and warriors, men well versed in all the arts of civilization. And when the heavens thundered, and lightning struck down the citadels of the cities, and water washed away their walls, he preserved his generations from the flood, and with them all the fruits of civilization. Some call him Noah, others Utnapishtim, for he is remembered by all the generations of man, and known by many names. Nature is like a vast ocean, churning, storming, filled with strange beasts. The hunter-gatherer way of life is akin to riding nature's waves in longboats and canoes. The hunter-gatherer way of life does not resist nature, but instead uses her flux and flow to its advantage. Civilization, however, is akin to building a castle in the waves. Civilization resists nature and goes against her natural flow. Waves beat at the walls of the castle, and it is always in danger of being pulled back into the sea. Hunter-gatherer societies can continue unchanged for thousands of years, with their traditions and lineages unbroken, because they exist in homeostasis with nature. But civilizations are always struggling against the pull of entropy and degeneration. Walls and roads must be maintained, territory defended, institutions and political bodies upheld. This is why civilizations collapse, and it just so happens that we are experiencing such a collapse in the West right now. If we want to understand our current predicament, we need only look to Rome, which serves as a near-perfect example of the life cycle of civilizations. Rome was founded by a martial, energized people, sons of Mars, thirsty for war and struggle. They inherited and adopted much of the culture of Greece, which they would eventually conquer and absorb into their empire. Their martial spirit is what allowed them to excel. Their ability to assemble well-trained legions, to build infrastructure, and to direct their warlike spirit in an organized and disciplined manner. But as Rome became a wealthy, world-dominating power, the ruling caste became decadent and their institutions were corrupted by power-hungry schemers and backstabbers. Men like Caesar and Marcus Aurelius were few and far between. I have no doubt that from the seats of the Senate, Glowered faces not unlike the ones which we see today in the ruling castes. Pale, grayish faces with cold eyes, hungry for power. Ultimately, the Romans' greatest strength would lead to their downfall. With the empire already weakened from cultural and economic collapse, a series of internal wars for control of the empire would leave it too weak to defend itself. The Western Roman Empire, overstretched and eating itself from within, would collapse under its own weight. But the Germanic tribes, who were still untamed and overflowing with violent, creative energy, took up the cultural inheritance and identity of Rome, just as the Romans had done to the Greeks, and established the next paradigm, ushering in a new golden age of flourishing civilization. It is from this medieval, Christian age that grew the spirit of modernity, the Faustian Spirit, the scientific spirit. The spirit of our times has inherited from Christianity the desire to conquer nature. It is from this spirit that science was born. It is because of this spirit that Europeans sought out the wilderness of the Americas. It is in the name of this spirit that liberal democracy was formed as an attempt to level the hierarchies inherent in nature and bring about egalitarian societies. This spirit has brought the West great freedoms and luxuries, but it has also made us sick. We suffer from a deep-rooted misunderstanding of nature, both without and within, which has reached a catastrophe in the current health crisis. Just as happened to Rome, the spirit which gave birth to the modern Western nations is now bringing about their destruction. We have become decadent, and the values which once vitalized us and made us free are quickly turning us into a sickly species, born for servitude. The transhumanists are trying to follow the Faustian ethos to its conclusion in a total annihilation of human nature and complete subjugation of the body using technology. Thus they say no to life itself, and to the very life force which flows through all of creation. But they are old, and their paradigm no longer seizes the imagination and motivates the will to create. They are like the power-hungry senators and generals of Rome attempting to seize the throne of an atrophied empire. But there are new barbarians at the gates. A new paradigm is rising. Just as Christianity took up the Roman spirit and at the same time inverted it, we take up the transhumanist spirit and turn it against their vision of a sterile, dystopian earth, ruled by machines and populated by the remnants of a servile humanity. We seek to overcome ourselves, not through the conquest and castration of nature and biology, but through embracing nature and the instincts and harnessing them to drive us to new heights. We do not seek comfort or utopia. We laugh at such pitiful visions of contentment. We desire pressure and challenge. We want to evolve. This revitalizing vision of a higher type of human being who voluntarily seeks out hardship, who chooses to sacrifice comfort for the creation of beauty, will be our ark in the coming flood. I see now everywhere, from the edges of our culture, where men are still untamed and filled with creative will, a higher type arising. And this gives me hope that the golden rays of a new paradigm of flourishing are chasing away the clouds of this stormy sky. A flood is coming, a civilizational eclipse more catastrophic than any seen before on the earth. But if we can navigate the stormy waters of the flood, when the thunder and lightning fade from the sky, we will find at last a shining rainbow, a bridge to our highest hopes, a bridge to the ultimate dream, the ultimate challenge, the ultimate gamble, a bridge to the OVERMAN.